Here's a question I never thought I'd ask. Is retail media actually kind of mid? Today I'm sharing a couple of different topics. I'm going to start out with a back channel topic, which is an anonymized snippet from a conversation with industry insiders that I've had in the past week or so. And then I'm going to jump into the main question of the episode, which is how can we get Jason Goldberg excited about retail media? Let's go. Good morning and welcome to the Retail Media Breakfast Club. I'm your host, Kiri Masters, and every weekday at 6 a.m. Eastern, I bring you candid and real discussions in the world of retail media and marketplaces in just 10 minutes. So bring your own cup of coffee and we'll get smarter about retail media together. A tech vendor shared an interesting point of view with me this week that some retailers' media network teams lack the background to sell effectively to agencies, and that this could be a major reason why smaller RMNs might stagnate. And they emphasize that retailers need agency-savvy talent to take retail media networks to the next level, especially when shifting from trade marketing to audience-based selling. They noted that current staff often lack the skill set, but also the salary bands to be able to make that leap. And this is ironic because a lot of the tech vendors that I speak to, including this one, have brought in key executives from retail media networks to lead their retail division or to help their go-to-market strategy. So they're bringing in the retailers. And it just makes me think, with all the turmoil in the advertising agency space, perhaps this is a good time for retailers to scoop up talent that's disenfranchised with agency life. Just a thought. Number 2, is retail media really not that exciting? I hope you'll share a proud moment with me. Retail Media Breakfast Club got name checked on the Jason Scot show this week, which you may know it. It is a seminal podcast in the retail space and one I have been religiously following for over 7 years. Now, Jason, one of the co-hosts, had an interesting point of view that I really want to dig into in more depth, because making Jason excited about retail media might be a career-topping moment for me. So here's what Jason said, and I want to share a few of the rebuttals that I have from just doing some quick research this afternoon. And I would love to hear from you if you have some other ideas about how to frame this argument, because I really don't think Jason is alone here. So the context is this, that Amazon's ad business grew 19% in Q1 2025, and it's a very profitable business. And as Jason says,
and of course, it's extremely profitable, as we've been talking about on the show for a number of quarters now. Like, the ads business is almost certainly the most profitable business at Amazon. Part of the reason I don't like talking about it is every other retailer in the world looks at that and goes, oh, I want a piece of that. And now every ad agency in my holding company and all of our competitors, like, all have stood up armies of retail media people. And I actually don't think the retail media opportunity is near as exciting outside of the Amazon ecosystem as some people will have you believe.
Snap. So this is how Retail Media Breakfast Club got brought up on that show. So I want to go through a few of the points that he made and to what extent I was able to validate them or not. And then finally, I guess a call out to the audience to see if you have some other ideas of framing this rebuttal. And let's get Jason Goldberg excited about retail media. So Jason's law number 1, most retail media ad spend sits with Amazon. So that is completely true. Amazon captures 76% of US retail media spend, followed by 8% for Walmart, and a collective 16% for all the other retail media networks in the US. Jason's law number 2, retail media is mostly sponsored product ads. Here's what he says.
So the dirty secret of this ad business is it's the vast majority of it is sponsored product listings.
True, but it is tipping. So search performance ads relative to top of funnel ads, search still holds a majority share. But it's also true that Amazon's mix of search versus display or top of funnel is tilting quickly towards upper funnel connected TV via their DSP. So last year in Q4, ad agency Tenuity said that 32% of its ad spend on Amazon was on the DSP versus search ads. And Tenuity's client size skews more towards enterprise, so it would be interesting to see spend splits from other sources, maybe more across the spectrum. And then a separate data point outside of Amazon is that 10% of retail media spend is off-site. That means ads that display on a third-party publisher, on connected TV, but it's still bought and reported through a retailer because that ad is being activated against the retailer's audience. So the estimate from both Barclays and eMarketer is that only 10% of retail media spend is off-site, meaning it's not sponsored product ads. But both of them actually expect that split to rise to 30% in coming years. So Jason's law number 2, that retail media is mostly sponsored product ads, is definitely true, but the mix is changing over time. Jason's law number 3, most sponsored product ad spend is from smaller spenders. He says,
and the vast majority of the sponsored product listings are from third-party sellers. As I mentioned, there's 2 million sellers on Amazon. There's almost 1 billion items. No one is ever going to find your item unless you buy an ad to make it show up, right? And so when you have the world's best third-party marketplace, you have a very valid reason for people to give you a lot of ad dollars.
So my data so far says probably yes. There's some data from Smart Scout that shows that 3P brands spend 127% more on sponsored products and 146% more on sponsored video relative to revenue compared to first-party vendors. That's a lot to take in. But this math essentially, it answers a slightly different question. It tells us how aggressively sellers buy ads per dollar of their own sales versus vendors buying ads per dollar of their own sales. So it was missing some math there to answer the question fully. But there's also some separate analysis from Andrew Lipsman from Media Ads and Commerce, which also unpacks a pretty strong relationship between a marketplace, between a retailer having a marketplace and having a large, healthy mix of advertisers, both big and small, and high monetization of ad inventory. So this one is a probably yes. And then Jason's law number 4, which is therefore incremental ad dollars for specialty or regional retailers is limited. So he says,
I'm very skeptical that there's a lot of incremental ad dollars for a regional grocer with no third-party marketplace, or a specialty retailer in home furnishings with like no traditional shopper marketing spend and no CPG or everyday essentials. I think once you start getting out of these 2 or 3 biggest retailers in the ecosystems, the retail media opportunity gets a lot less exciting for me.
Data so far, working on it. Can you help? I think he's correct on the first part, actually, that there are many retailers out there whose footprint and reach simply don't make sense for brands to go out of their way to activate against, particularly if they don't integrate with a DSP, which is one of the topics from earlier in the week on this very podcast. I recommend you go check it out. But retail media is clearly an attractive enough value proposition for many of the larger retailers outside of Amazon and Walmart to have been investing significantly in. And they're investing because brands want what retail media promises, which is direct access to consumers at various points of the shopping journey, closed loop attribution sometimes, and a hedge against alternative advertising channels like search, social, and linear TV, which all have challenges of their own. And that's why shopper marketing dollars are being directed into retail. That's why brand dollars are being redirected into retail media, because it answers some of these inherent challenges that brands have. I would love to hear what you think. Let's see what the smart listeners of this podcast have to say. Further data, further arguments, and let's see if we can get Jason Goldberg excited about retail media. Topic number 3, are brands going big this Prime Day or are they pulling back? Prime Day 2025 is stretching out to 4 days this year. And of course, there's a very interesting backdrop this year with tariffs impacting margins. Consumers have pulled forward a lot of purchases already, according to different data sources. So a brand's going to be spending more or less on Prime Day this year. I started a poll on LinkedIn that you can participate in and see what the results are so far in real time. I'll drop the link to that in the show notes. Thanks for tuning in. I know this episode was a little longer than usual. I'll be back on Monday with a 10-minute episode, I promise. See you then.